As I go through alphabetically through the league, and you find interesting players when you're talking about who may or may not end up in Seattle. And I want to discuss Brent Burns because I think Brent Burns could have a bounce back year this year. I understand he's 36 years of age. I get that. So let's look through his career because he's a fascinating player. And I remember doesn't feel like it was that long ago that I talked about him having been a forward, and there were people who said, he's never been a forward. What are you talking about? Clearly Shannon's on something because Burns was never a forward. He was, though. He was a forward when he was drafted. He's drafted as a right winger, number 20 pick in 2003. So he's part of that amazing 2003 entry draft, right? Where almost everybody was a hit in the first round. Apologies to Hugh Jessamine. Almost everybody was a hit in that first round. So 2003-2004, the first year, Jacques Lemaire, coach of the Minnesota Wild, goes, I think he's a defenseman. I think we'll move him to the blue line. So they do that. 36 games played, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. And then 04-05, he ends up playing that year in the American League. He gets to hone his defensive skill there due to the lockout, right? So 05-06, 72 games played, 4 goals, 12 assists, 16 points for him that year. And again, those are, numbers that a defenseman puts up. 06-07, 77 games played, 7 goals, 18 assists, 25 points. Then the following season, October 25th, so the season's underway in 07-08, he signs a 4-year, $14.2 million contract worth an average of $3.55 million a year. So, reasonable contract, and he's having a good year. 82 games played, 15 goals, 28 assists, 43 points for him that year. But things go off the rails for him in 08-09. He ends up only playing 59 games due to a concussion, 8 goals, 19 assists, 27 points. The concussion was suffered against Arizona, who were Phoenix at the time. And he played forward in 08-09 as well as playing defense. So he played both. And it's not the only time we'd see him do that. So 09-10, so the 2009-2010 season, he misses time with a concussion as well. 47 games played, 3 goals, 17 assists, 20 points. When you see a guy have shortened seasons year after year, you start to say, oh, well, the concussions, that might be a major problem then. But he bounces back. 2010-2011, plays 80 games, 17 goals, 29 assists, 46 points. Very respectable. He's back on the blue line at that point, but he's played both forward and defense. June 24th, at the draft in 2011, he is traded to the San Jose Sharks with the 2012 second-round pick for Devin Setaguchi, who at the time was seen as a good young forward for San Jose. Charlie Coyle, same. And a 2011 first-round pick that became Zach Phillips. So Charlie Coyle becomes the answer to the question of what did Minnesota get for Brent Burns? And Brent Burns goes to San Jose and does pretty well. Now, August 1st, he hasn't played a game yet for the Sharks. And Doug Wilson says, all right, well, we're going to sign him. 5 years, $28.8 million. So the cap hits $5.76 million. There's risk in that. There's risk in that because he hasn't played a game yet for your team. But 81 games played that year, 11 goals, 26 assists, 37 points. Then the 2012-2013 season, which is shortened due to a lockout, they decide, you know what? We're going to try Burns at forward. So he played forward here. He ends up playing forward here for 23 out of the 30 games. And in those 23 games, he puts up 9 goals and 11 assists. He works very well as a right winger. He does. And I could see Brent Burns, if there were struggles for him this upcoming season, and if San Jose can figure things out, I could see him on the wing again, just to try to get things going. 2013-2014, again, as a forward, 69 games played, 22 goals, 26 assists, 48 points. And it's a question about Brent Burns that I guess we can ask the question of whether he was a defenseman playing forward during those years or if he's been a forward playing defense his entire career. And that's been the knock on Brent Burns, is that defensively he's always a step behind. And if you want to see people's heads explode, you talk about how he's a Norris Trophy winner. That for some that will do it, because he's not seen as really being a defenseman. He's seen as being a point producer. So he goes back to the blue line in 2014 for the 2014-2015 season. 82 games played, 17 goals, 43 assists, 60 points. So it's nice to see him get a full season in, and the goals are still there. 2015-2016, 82 games, 27 goals, 48 assists, 75 points. He ends up being a second-team All-Star, and he's third in Norris voting. And again, the question then gets asked, well, is this just, a situation where he's getting Norris votes because of all the points he put up? The answer is yes. This is something that happens with the Norris Trophy. I think that Burns defensively got better as the years went along as well. I think that Burns had earned that at least, right to be in the conversation at that stage. But I understood why people were upset. I got it. 2016-2017, 82 games played, 29 goals, 47 assists, 76 points. That's 9th in the league in scoring. So he's top 10 in scoring. He ends up winning the Norris Trophy. He's a first-team All-Star. Like I said, those who think that he's a forward playing defense would get upset with him being named the best defenseman in the league. And November 22nd of that year, while he's having the Norris Trophy season, he signs an 8-year extension. Now, he's 32 years of age, so this contract runs till he's 40. And it's for $64 million, $8 million a year until 2025. So it's going to kick in the next year. And of course, at the time, everybody's signing long-term extensions. And you don't want to risk losing him. The worst case scenario is you lose Burns for nothing and he goes somewhere else and wins. And then you've got a hole on your blue line. So they gave him $8 million per. And again, one of the rules of contracts is, well, the cap's always going to go up. So it's $8 million now, but it'll be the equivalent of $5 million by the time it's over. And, we'll figure something out because the cap's always going up. If you need somebody to take a bad contract later, you can find somebody. Nobody had any idea the kind of financial difficulty that was going to lay ahead for the league. And so the year after the Norris Trophy win, 82 games, 12 goals, 55 assists, 67 points. And it's an overall drop for him. And I understand it's only a 9-point difference, but notice he's not top 3 in Norris voting that year. The goals dropped to 12 from 29. He takes a ton of shots. Brent Burns will shoot from anywhere. But his totals definitely took a drop. They go back up in 2018-2019. 82 games, 16 goals, 57 assists, which was 5th in the league that year. 83 points. He's 2nd in Norris voting, and he's a first-team All-Star. Now, this season that we just finished, finally, in September, he played 70 games, 12 goals, 33 assists, 45 points. And it is very easy to focus in on that season and say he's 36. He's not going to bounce back. It's over. It's done. I would counter with, it could be. That absolutely could be the case. But 45 points seems really low. And I think that there was chemistry problems with San Jose. I think they struggled the whole season. There are a lot of players who had down years. Erik Karlsson included, who was also on that blue line with them. And I think that's part of it as well. I could see San Jose trying to get out from under the contract, either through maybe offering it to Seattle, maybe. But if he has a bounce-back season, I could see them trying to trade him as well. I could see a situation where they say, all right, there's teams that'll want him and will retain half the salary and will get rid of the other half. I could see some kind of a retention deal being worked out. He's played 1,113 games, 210 goals, which is amazing for a guy who's played mostly defense. And yes, 31, about 40 of those goals are as forward, right? About 40, maybe 45 goals he's playing forward. 484 assists, 694 points. And of course, notably, outside of 2016 and 2019, San Jose's been known as a team that struggles to get over the hump in the playoffs. And maybe you can include the 2016 finals and the 2019 run to the conference finals and say, well, those were seasons they struggled with it as well because they didn't win a cup. He has 94 games played in the playoffs in his career, 20 goals, 42 assists, 62 points. Again, those are respectable totals for a guy who's mostly been a defenseman. 2015, he won gold at the World Championships for Team Canada. And then 2016 at the World Cup of Hockey for Team Canada, he won gold. I don't know if we'd had a World Cup this year. And obviously that was the first thing that got canceled. But I don't know if we'd had a World Cup this year if Burns would have made Team Canada, been in the running for Team Canada. I'm not sure. I will say I do think those totals are too low. I could see him bouncing back. 45 points, I could see him being at 55 next year. Does that mean that San Jose decides to keep him around? I'm not sure, but I know that Doug Wilson has said time and time and time again he has faith in his core, in the players that he's had for a long time, and that he is very loyal to players like Burns. And that can sometimes be to the detriment of the team. Sometimes it's great for the team. And we'll see how things turn out for Burns this year. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding Brent Burns. Whether you see him as a defense playing forward when he played forward, or whether you see him as a forward playing defense. And what do you think he does next year? Because again, it's all up in the air. And then again, the whole question mark of, well, if the NHL doesn't figure a way out to have a season, what happens to him after that? Does having all of that time off? Remember, he hasn't played a game, not a single game, since March. He's had 9 months of not having to worry about playing a hockey game. He should be fresh. That whole team should be fresh or rusty. Again, it depends on how you see it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding the career of Brent Burns. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.